Hello, everyone. Welcome to my little presentation here today. I'm going to talk just a little bit of science about hydration, about a little bit of nutrition, and then some of the supplement recommendations I have. So, in the past, especially around football season in the fall, we have struggled at Troy with some cramping and just not getting hydration in the perfect manner. And so, I'm going to kind of give my spiel. I know I've talked to a lot of you about this. However, this is going to be my little bit of a spiel on how I would combat it, number one, and then how I would integrate some better nutrition choices into your daily life that's going to have a better impact on your performance on the field and your recovery after your event, which I think is something that we don't touch on enough. And I think it's something that we can do a lot of at home. So let's get right into it. So for those who don't know me, my name is Taylor Premer. I'm a chiropractor at Winchester Spine and Sport, literally right across the street from the high school. So you've probably seen me in the training room, or your son or daughter told you about me in the training room. I'm there with Brandon at least once a week, and then I try to be to most of the home games that I can be. But this is me. If you ever want to get a hold of me, or if you have questions, my email is here, and then I'll give you my cell number at the end of this as well. That will that help be the easiest way to get a hold of me. So anyway, I always put this in any talk that I do, no matter what it's about. And this is just because this is kind of like lays my cards out there. So my why is literally this: it's to be an advocate and a resource for each of my patients and the people around me, and always have an answer for them. Which today is what we're talking about. So my goal is to be an advocate for you, for your student athletes, and to be able to give them some information that will not only impact their lives, but hopefully their athletic careers too. So that is why I'm here today, and that's why hopefully you're listening to me today. So for those who don't know, Winchester Spine and Sport, this is our office. So again, it's across the street, right by the police station. So we have kind of an interesting approach in that we have three kind of wings in our office. We do functional training where we have a full-time trainer. Her name is Natalie. She's a softball athlete at Mizzou and just an awesome programmer, but she works on everything from strength to endurance to speed and agility. She also works with some of our older patients or just some of our normal everyday patients on getting them stronger and making them more resilient. We also have functional treatment in the middle, so that's where I kind of come into play as a chiropractor. We have three chiropractors right now, Brett Winchester, myself, and then Peter Roy. We also have all sorts of interns, and then we also have a full-time chiropractic assistant in the back that helps us with rehab and things like that. And then we also have a functional medicine wing. So Jessica Niehoff and Alicia King kind of run that for us. They're a nurse practitioner and a medical doctor. They help us do everything from IV fluids to joint injections to cosmetics to prescriptions, things like that. And so they have been a huge advocate for us as far as the sports medicine goes. And then we also have Brandon Mundell, which is the athletic trainer at Troy, who is an amazing resource. Him and I work hand in hand with most athletes that come through and usually have a discussion about just about everybody that he sees. And so that's kind of our spiel. So anyway, let's get into it. So the science. So we've all heard you just need to drink more water, right? So everything's been, that 70% of your body is made up of water, and it's important to be hydrated. But what we never really talk about is how much water, number one, and then what kind of fluids that we need to drink. And so I'm going to give you some parameters here. We've probably all heard if you take your body weight divided by 2, that's the number of ounces of liquid water that you need in a day. I'm going to make an argument that for our athletes, that's not a bad starting point, but we probably need more, and we probably need to add things called electrolytes, what we'll get to in our next slide. So unfortunately, our water supply right now is just different than it has been in the past. Unless you're drinking out of well water, we're drinking water that's been treated with things that actually help that reduce our ability to absorb electrolytes. And a lot of times it's not as hydrating as we would want it to be. And so a lot of times we're going to go for, a Gatorade or a Propel or, liquid IV and things like that. And the unfortunate thing is it just has too much sugar in it, realistically. So when we talk about electrolytes are the essential to facilitate fluid transfer, meaning taking it when you ingest it or you drink it and then actually proliferating it into our cells. So electrolytes are made up of sodium chloride, potassium, magnesium. Those are the kind of the big ones. So getting enough of these is actually very important. The problem is if we're getting it in a big sugary drink like a Gatorade, unfortunately, Gatorade is full of sugar. If you looked at one, even the zeros with the artificial sweeteners, it tricks our body into thinking that that's a big old sugar rush. And then it's using those electrolytes that are in the drink to actually help facilitate to take care of the sugars. So a lot of those electrolytes that we're trying to absorb, we're actually not even getting to absorb them because they're already being used to deal with the amount of sugar that you just ingested. And so a lot of times those things are kind of counterproductive. And given the choice, I would almost rather you drink just plain water than a Gatorade anymore. And it's unfortunate to say, and even if you're going for the zero sugar, artificial sweeteners are just as bad as regular sugar. I know that there's kind of like this big push to say that they're not. The reality is it's still tricking our brain into feeling like we're fed, into feeling like there's sugar in our system. And so again, you're just kind of like you're not utilizing those electrolytes because it's going right to dealing with that to being processed in the pancreas and other things like that. So grabbing a Gatorade is not the solution, and grabbing especially sugary drinks is never the solution. So, especially soda during sporting events, soda after, even things like chocolate milk have been kind of revered as this big, recovery drink. And in reality, there's just too much sugar to even get the benefit of it, to be completely honest with you. So, that is what we want to avoid. What I would suggest is going towards things like these here. So the Element, which is this box over here in the top right, this is my favorite electrolyte pack. It doesn't taste as good as Liquid IV. It doesn't taste as good as those other things that you can get at the store. However, it is packed full of amazing things like potassium, magnesium, and then you get basically all of your essential electrolytes with almost zero sugar. There's 1 gram of sugar, but honestly, like that is so minuscule compared to the other things that this is my favorite thing on the market right now. If you use this referral code, which I'll send out to the coaches as well, you get I think you get a free just regular pack, and then that'll give you a chance to kind of try it. But again, Elements are my favorite pack. You just take a packet, put them in a bottle of water, and you're good to go. Especially during the heat of the summer or like on a game day, it would be good to have 2 of these, but it's a good idea to just have 1 of these throughout the day. Me personally, I work inside all day, but I still drink at least 1 of these a day to make sure that I have the right electrolytes to absorb the water that I'm drinking and to just be able to recover and process things. Electrolytes also are very important for your brain functioning, not only for your muscles and your joints to be able to repair. So there's also lots of other things that these electrolytes are helping with. The other thing that I would suggest is magnesium. 400 milligrams a day with a meal is actually really good. My favorite is this orthomolecular down here on the bottom right, reacted magnesium. And the reason I like the reacted magnesium is because it has multiple different forms of magnesium. So if you walked into the your supplement store right now and you just look for magnesium, you'd find things like magnesium glycinate, all sorts. There's like 5 or 6 different ones that you would just find on the shelf, and those are great for other things. But for our athletes, I would rather them have multiple different ones because some are helping them sleep, some are helping them their gut digest, some are helping their muscles to be able to absorb those electrolytes to prevent cramping, and some are doing other things in the body to help with the brain and things like that. So getting a good reacted magnesium or a magnesium that has multiple different forms of magnesium is, I think, really important. Again, 400 milligrams a day with a meal. The other thing I should say is that I don't know if you've seen in the news lately, but buying supplements off of Amazon is a horrible idea. And the reason being is that they've found multiple different like stores that are selling fake supplements and all sorts of other things like that. So it's better off to just get them directly. I have an online, we call it a dispensary, but an online supplement shop that basically can get you direct from the source. And I'll give that to you at cost. If you reach out to me, I can kind of set you up. The other thing is it's actually one of the most researched supplements in the world, which is creatine. It's gotten a bad rap over the years of people doing excessive amounts of creatine and it causing the kidneys and liver to get a little bit overrun and can cause other things like that. The research points, though, that if you're under 200 pounds, 5 grams a day with a meal is actually really, really safe. Not only safe, but it has amazing effects on brain chemistry, muscle growth, and then muscle recovery. And again, like this is a very important section to talk about because as we're getting into the kind of the dog days of summer here, 2 days are rolling on. We're outside a lot. We're practicing every single day. Our joints, our muscles, our tendons, our ligaments go through a lot of strain. And this creatine will allow us, our body to help repair them and to kind of get some of the collagen to infuse back into our ligaments and tendons so that we don't have these big old catastrophic injuries or we don't get soreness and things like that. So, if you're under 200 pounds, 5 grams a day with a meal is great. That's usually one scoop. And if you're over 200 pounds, you can take up to 10 grams a day with a meal. I suggest this Thorne creatine. Thorne is a great company. Not only that, but it doesn't have a lot of the other junk in it. It's just literally creatine monohydrate. It's also like USADA approved, which means it passes several governing bodies. For example, if you were a boxer or a UFC fighter, Thorne would be a reliable source for you to take without testing positive on drug tests and things like that. So it's a really, really good brand. So if I just had to simple it down, it would be of my supplements: magnesium, 400 milligrams a day with a meal; creatine, 5 grams a day if you're under 200 pounds; over 200 pounds, 10 grams a day; and then get some elements and have at least one or two of those a day. The days where it's super hot and you feel like you've sweated a ton, it's a great idea to just double down on those elements on electrolytes. And again, we want to avoid electrolyte mixes that have a ton of sugar in them or fake sugar, things like aspartate and other things like that. So we want to avoid those. So then my nutrition talk. Again, I'm trying to make this kind of quick and easy here, but this is usually what we're doing. I don't know if anybody watches The Office here, but it's the day of a race or it's the day of a football game or the day before, and our parents make us these awesome pasta dishes, and then you got to add the little bit of extra cheese in there and stuff too. And again, like this carbo loading is a great idea in theory. The problem is that we stuff our carbo loading with a bunch of crap. So, the day before a football game, it's probably not the best idea to stomp down a bunch of garlic bread, pasta with meat sauce, and then Parmesan cheese and stuff like that on top of it because it's a giant gut bomb. We know that sleep is extremely important for recovery. And a lot of times people are waking up or not getting as deep of a sleep as they can because they've got these big old gut bombs and their body is using so much nutrition to try to digest this food that it takes away from our ability to have a deep sleep. So maybe stray away from those big old fettuccine Alfredos the day of a course or of a run or a day of a tournament or a game. And instead, let's eat some simple carbohydrates to help carb loading, meaning sweet potatoes, potatoes without those big old dairy bombs, and things like vegetables that have great amounts of carbs in them that aren't providing us a big old carb bomb in our gut. And having a high protein diet, especially the day before a game, is actually great. It helps our body to nourish our muscles, helps to rebuild, helps to keep our body active as it should. And the reason I put food allergies on here, wheat, dairy, soy, corn, is that these are the most common things that we see in our patients, especially in the high school age. Even if you don't have overt reactions, meaning you're not have a big old gut reaction, you're not having diarrhea or constipation, stuff like that, these things are causing low levels of inflammation in our body. And it's just harder for our guts to process them. It's harder for them to break down these types of molecules, which then again is taking away a lot of that energy that we're trying to eat and absorb so that we can have for the following day for our event. So a perfect like game day meal or day before meal for me would be some sort of red meat with a heavy protein load. Heck, have a steak, a couple hamburgers. Go light on the bread, especially if you notice it makes your stomach upset. Go light on the dairy for sure, so you're not causing yourself to have a big old gut bomb. So a big old steak, so a couple baked potatoes or maybe some sweet potatoes, and then a good pile of broccoli or cauliflower or something that has a little bit higher protein and carbohydrate content. That way you're able to digest it throughout the night, number one. And then number two, you're going to wake up feeling pretty good. And then day of, you could do the same exact thing, a high protein, maybe add a little bit of fat into it, maybe have some guacamole or an avocado, something that kind of feed your brain and to feed your body with some good calories. Calorie content is the next kind of thing that I want to talk about. So, in calorie content, when we're talking about it, especially for our athletes, this is just what I did. This BMR calculator, basal metabolic rate, just means this is the minimum amount that you need every day to just basically run your brain and your body. That means not even talking about exercise, not talking about going hard or intensity or playing an entire football game. This is just to run your body on a normal day. So for me, this is you can just type in your age, your height, your weight, and it's going to tell me that I need at least 1,800 calories a day just to run my body. So if I'm sedentary, meaning I'm just working a desk job, I may need 2,100 calories. But if I'm doing very intense physical activity, or let's say I'm going to go run a couple miles, work out throughout the day, have a little bit more heavy heart rate variability, then I need up to 3,500 calories a day. So a good way to do it is just to download a tracker on your phone and just start putting in everything that you eat in a day and make sure that you're getting that calorie content. Obviously, I would rather you stick to high protein, simple carbohydrates, avoiding those most common food allergies. But even if you are noticing that you have a lower calorie content, if you can find some of those foods that aren't going to really upset your stomach and cause you a bunch of inflammation, then stick to that. Get your calories in throughout the day, and make sure that you're not running on empty towards the end of the day, because your body needs fuel to recover. So just a review on nutrition. Let's not carbo load like a crazy person the night before with a bunch of junk that's going to cause your gut to be upset, and that it's going to take more energy for your body to absorb and to break down. Let's try to avoid our most common food allergies, meaning gluten, dairy, soy, corn. Doesn't mean you can't have them, but let's try to cut them down a little bit, because again, if it's causing low level inflammation in your gut, it's going to be very hard for you to absorb the electrolytes, number one, and then number two, to recover every single day. And then make sure you're getting enough calories in throughout the day. So just a little bit of about sleep too. I would much rather you get deep sleep than an amount of sleep. Now, non-negotiable for me, especially for an athlete, is at least 7 to 8 hours of sleep. I would probably argue that 8 is the minimum, but getting a good night's sleep is just as important as getting the amount of sleep that you need. So hydration throughout the day is really important. Mainly because you don't want to stuff a bunch of water in right before you go to bed, because obviously you're going to be up going to the bathroom throughout the day. So make a committed effort to hydrate throughout the day. Get your electrolytes in before practice and then right after practice, and then limit hydration kind of once you're getting close to bed. Limit blue light, which would be screens. So your phone, watching TV to fall asleep, working on your computer or watching videos on your computer and stuff like that. Like this all tricks your brain into thinking it's still daylight out, and that it's not going to allow you to fall asleep as good. So you can buy blue light blockers like on Amazon. I think those are great little glasses that kind of help your brain sift through whether it's blue light or just regular light. So those are great. We already talked about limiting gut bombs. So that means those high density foods like, for example, pizza, pasta with a bunch of dairy products on top of it, things like that. Stick to your high protein meals that have simple carbohydrates and some vegetables as well. And then make sure you have a dark, cool room. So I would say under 70 degrees is the bare minimum. Make sure that you're getting a good night's sleep, which means dark, cool room, no lights in there. Don't fall asleep to your TV. And when you wake up in the morning, don't press the snooze button. Just get up and get your day going. So the last thing I'll do is just like a little bit of motivation. So this is something that Brett has always brought up to us, and it's something that we tell our athletes, or we ask our athletes all the time, and that's, can you give your best performance on the biggest stage? And for me, that includes everything we talked about today, is making sure that you're hydrated so that you're not cramping the day of. That's where the magnesium comes in. That's where eating a good diet comes in. That's where avoiding soda comes in, because all those things are going to make it even more likely for you to cramp. And if you're cramping, it is very hard for Brandon and I to get you to stop cramping and to get you back on the field, which is our ultimate goal, is to allow you to play safely, but then also play. That is the best thing for you, is to be out on the field. But if we can't help you if you haven't done the steps leading up to that. So that means, can you give your best performance on the biggest stage? That means taking care of the things that you can take care of during the week, making sure you're hydrated, you're eating well, you're sleeping well, you're getting your grades in, which I know coach is going to talk about a bunch throughout the year. Like all those little things throughout the week are very important for making sure you can give your best performance on the biggest stage. So I always bring up this example. This guy's name is Alex Honnold. So Alex Honnold is a free soloer. So this is from the movie Free Solo. So this is him on the edge of El Capitan. So it's a rock wall in Yosemite National Park, and he's climbing with no ropes on right now. So the thing that I always bring up about this story is that yes, he is crazy for doing this. Number one, because if he slips and falls, he dies. There's no question. This is at the highest stakes there is. But what makes Alex so special, and why I love this example of giving your biggest performance or your best performance on the biggest stage, is that he prepped for so long on this. He literally started thinking about this 3 years before he finally accomplished it. He memorized every single hold on this wall. He practiced it for literally 3 years. He set up these crazy rock walls in his house to try to practice these difficult moves, which this is one that you're going to show here called the karate kick. So I mean, like all of these things are extremely important for him to be able to achieve this, number one, and for him to not die. Now, the stakes for you are a little bit different being an athlete. However, I would argue that if you don't take the time to make these non-negotiables your non-negotiables, then we're going to fail. We're going to cramp. We're going to have these injuries, nagging things that prevent you from being the best you can, and prevent you from living up to what you want and what you want to achieve in your every single day. And so I just ask you to think about what you want to accomplish. Think about what you want to accomplish in this sports year. What is your LCAP? What is the thing that you really want to accomplish? Is that winning a state championship game? Is that making varsity? Is that playing every single game, not getting injured? Whatever that means for you, make sure you understand why you're doing it, number one, and then take the steps necessary to make sure that you can accomplish that by one, staying healthy, and two, staying on the playing field and not getting taken out because of these little things like cramping and not being hydrated. So anyway, guys, I appreciate you guys listening to me. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. Number one, you got my email address on the first one. You can DM me on Instagram. That's another great way. Or my cell number is 636-497-0338. Shoot me a text with any questions you have. If you want access to those supplements at cost, I would love to give them to you, and anything like that. So this isn't a hard sell. You can get them wherever you want, but yeah, I would love for our kids to stay healthy and to be on the playing field as long as they can. So thanks again, guys, and good luck this year. Have an amazing year.